Hi, I'm Katie Mahalic, and today we're talking with Gregory Cioffi about his book, The Devil in the Diamond. Hi, Gregory.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show today to tell us about your book. So, I have a first question to start us off, okay?
Lovely.
How do you feel that you became a writer?
I feel like I've always meant to be a writer. I feel like, in some sense, I've always been a writer. I don't recall the moment I said, I think I'm a writer, because it was that young. If you asked me when I was a little kid, what do you want to do? I would always say, I want to be a writer. And everything else, the teaching or acting or directing, I can really pinpoint later on in life when that came. But I feel like writing at the end of the day is what I was always meant to do.
So, have you written something before The Devil in the Diamond?
So while this is my first novel, I have a lot of short stories published. I have a lot of poetry published. I have many film scripts that have been produced and turned into short films. I've also had many plays be produced and turned into one acts or full length plays. So this is my second attempt at a manuscript, and luckily, this one was published.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, with all of those various writing engagements, how did this novel come to be?
This is very much a quarantine novel. So the quarantine happened. I knew I had more time on my hands than usual. And so I said, I need to be productive. I need to take advantage of this time. And around this time, there was a rise in anti-Asian sentiment in the United States on the news. You would hear it all the time. And so this just seemed apropos. It just seemed topical. It just seemed like, even though it's a period piece, right? The novel takes place during and right after World War II. It kind of seemed like it was mirroring society of today.
Did you go into it specifically knowing what themes you wanted to explore? And if so, can you talk to me about those themes?
When I have an idea, usually one of the first thing is the idea or the theme, right? So the devil in the diamond referencing a baseball field, so meaning in baseball, in sports, and the devil referring to any sort of prejudice or bigotry or hate. And so, there was prejudice at this time, right? Even within the diamond, within the realm of sports. And so I knew that was something I very much wanted to explore. So that was the starting point. I read an article, it was actually an academic article, about how baseball acted as the thread, the healing factor between America and Japan after World War II. But that article really inspired me to lay the grounds for what this novel became, right? Because Japan was an ally prior to World War II, an enemy during World War II, and an ally after World War II. So I thought it was super fascinating how a sport could act as the healing factor between two peoples. And that is, of course, represented through the main characters, the two main characters of the story, one being American and one being Japanese.
Are you a big sports enthusiast?
I'm a huge Yankee fan. Go Yankees! I've been an avid baseball fan. I love baseball. I think it's a magical sport. I think it's a beautiful sport. At times, perhaps an unappreciated sport, America's pastime, if you will. And so, yeah, I was ready to go with baseball.
Beyond sports, how personal is this story for you?
On the very surface level, it's probably not too personal. Uh, However, like my father was reading my novel and he said, "Oh, I say this all the time. You clearly got this from me." And so it always finds a way to infuse itself, real life, into fiction. And so there's parts of me scattered all over. I feel like there's parts of me within each character. And so I'm very much in it, in a deep way, but not so much on a very surface level. I think you have to know me pretty well to point out, oh, that's Greg.
Can I ask, what about the race and ethnicity elements about the book?
Well, it was very palpable, especially at the time, of sitting in quarantine during a pandemic. I saw my favorite Yankee pitcher, Masahiro Tanaka, leave the New York Yankees out of fear for his family's safety, and he went back to Japan. Um, I mean, obviously, being in the New York, New Jersey area, I have friends of a diverse circle. And so this hit very close home to me, just in observing my friends. This is very much a story specifically about America and Japan, but I think it extends even further than that. One of the key relationships in the novel is an interracial marriage at the time when that was certainly frowned upon more than it is so now. And the reason for that simply being that I feel like if I was going to discuss race relations in America, uh, you know, I would be remiss if I did not mention other race relations. And so tried to do that in a very organic way. And I hope it came across in a very touching, powerful way.
Do you still feel that something as simple as two people being from different races and married is actually still something that we're contending with today as a country?
I'm pretty sure it is, right? There are still certain cultural barriers to get across, or there are certain prejudices that we still observe within society. Me, for instance, I guess you can say I am of mixed race, of being Italian on my father's side and Hispanic on my mother's side. So anytime you sort of witness a cultural blend smash up against one another, there's certainly a story there, and one worth exploring and writing. And sometimes it's not so easy.
Very honest answer. Thank you. So the story takes place in New York and Japan, and it has a great sense of both places in the years during and after World War II. How familiar are you with both places? Clearly, you're very familiar with New York.
Yes, I'm absolutely a New Yorker, born and raised. So it's like I got that. I understand that world and that place and that type of person. I've, on the other hand, never been to Japan, so that required a extensive amount of research. And it was a period piece. So on top of that, I had to, constantly double check. Oh, well, was this a thing in the 1940s?
So there are some historical figures who pop up throughout the story, but for the main characters, are they based on people you've known?
So the main characters are pretty much an amalgamation of historical real life people. So the article that I mentioned, that was the initial inspiration for this piece, talked about a lot of historical figures, Japanese people who went to America and American people who went to Japan. And so I kind of took all of these characters and these figures and combined them into one or two characters. And of course, we have the historical figures that are sort of scattered throughout the piece, almost surprise appearances. Characters like Mark Twain, Theodore Roosevelt, General MacArthur, right? With Joe DiMaggio, we get to meet all these figures in a literary way, that there's a part of me in each of them, right? Or part of people I know or family in each of them.
Gregory, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Look for Gregory Cioffi's new book, The Devil in the Diamond, at henrygraypublishing.com, or ask for it at your favorite neighborhood bookstore. Happy reading, everyone.